Hello, welcome to the Office Furniture Installation Alliance, or OFIA program. Whether you found us on your own or were referred to us by InstallNet, the OFIA program can be found at www.ofia.org. When you get to this website, if you've never logged on before, then you'll have to register a new account. You can do so either by clicking on the green button here in the middle that says Register, or clicking on the Login link at the top. On this screen, you'll see a couple of different options of what to register for. You'll want to pick the second option for a customer. The first step is to put in your email address to see if we already have an account for you. In some instances, we've preloaded your company and user account information for you. And if that's the case, you don't have to do another user registration. Click on the Validate Email button to check. In this case, we do not have account information, so you'll be prompted to put in your name and contact information, as well as to pick a password. The password must be at least 6 characters long and contain at least numbers, letters, and a special character. A sample would be shown here in the yellow box, but of course you can pick any one that you would like. Click on the Submit button. Now, after you submit that information, you'll get a confirmation email that is sent to you based on the email address you put in during that registration. And inside that email address, you'll see a link to click on. Here I have a sample example of what this would look like in your email client. When you click on the email message, you'll see a link. Just click on this link and that will validate your email address. Now, this is what the page will look like once we have validated your email address. The second step would be to now either select or add your company. Now, if you already have users in your company that have already registered, then we'll match your company based on your email address. But if not, you can do one of two things. First, you can see if there is a match. In this case, I have no pending matches for my email address, so I need to click on the Add New Company button. The OFIA portal will do one more additional check to see if we have already loaded your account information in, and if so, it would be in this drop down. In this case, I don't have a matching company like we already talked about, so I'm going to click New Company and create a new company. I can put an optional URL if we have it, otherwise I'll put in my address. And that's all I need. I'll click on the Add Company button, and my account on the OFIA portal is now created. Further users that would register to your company will require you to go and approve those accounts. You'll get notifications when that is the case. Now that you've logged on to the OFIA portal, the first screen that you see is your dashboard. At the top, we have navigational links that will take you to the most common activities on the OFIA portal. In addition, at the very top, we have several different ways of getting in contact with the OFIA support team. First is the Help, where you can submit a question directly to us. You can view some commonly asked questions and answers, watch some videos on the OFIA program, or see the latest updates to the ofia.org website. In addition, we have an email address and a phone number that you can use to contact us. This global search bar right here is useful in that you can search pretty much anything through the system. So if you have a project number or a quote that you've already started on OFIA, you can just start typing it up in the search bar and it'll take you directly to that resource. At the bottom, we have 3 commonly used icons here. We recommend that the first thing you do when you register your company and log in for the first time is go to the Update Profile page. Now, this is what my company profile page looks like to other providers. In this case, it's very bare bones since I didn't put very much in, but I can click on the View Edit Profile. Now here I can put in additional office locations if I have it. I can upload a logo or put in a website address. All of that information here is useful, including a main office phone number. At the bottom here, we have a couple other links. You can include your social media presence if you have any for these resources. And then also an interesting couple of fields here in the Notifications tab. If you have a specific email address that invoices should go to, please put it in the Invoice Email text box. That way, when a provider completes a job and uploads an invoice on the OFIA portal, not only will it be sent to the point of contact on that job, but it will also be automatically forwarded to the email address listed in this field. In addition, each point of contact that is associated with each job will automatically get notifications. However, if you have a couple managers or people that want to be notified on every job, regardless if they're a point of contact, you can select them here in the Always Notify section. After you've completed the profile to your satisfaction, click on the Submit button and it will save your changes. Let's go back to the dashboard. Now here on the dashboard, underneath our links, we have 4 different sections for quotes. The first section is incomplete quotes, or quotes that we've started but have not yet submitted to any providers for a bid. The following sections down at the bottom are active jobs, or jobs that have been submitted to a provider and you've awarded them by attaching a purchase order and are now active. The next column is quotes that have been submitted to a provider but not yet awarded. If there are bids back from a provider, you'll see a little icon here. And then finally, the closed jobs ready for review. Those will be jobs that have been completed and closed out and that are waiting for you to either archive them or provide a review on that provider. The last couple sections are statistics on your company and a few administrative actions that you can take on behalf of your company. Well, let's submit a sample quote from start to finish to see what it looks like. First, you can either go to Search Providers or to the Quotes navigation. I'll start by going to Search Providers first. Here you can put in a zip code to see which providers are in the closest geographical range for the project you are starting. In this case, in this sample environment, the search results came back with 3 different providers. Here you can see if they have a logo, you can review any of their badges that identify characteristics about that company. You can also view the details about their organization, or you can just move to directly submit the quote. This is the first page on the Creating New Quote page. This is a multi-step process that goes through about 3 different screens where you first characterize the quote and put in the appropriate job scope, and then you select additional providers if you want to provide additional bids, and then finally you submit it on its way. So here I'm going to put in some project information. The quote number will be automatically pre-filled by the OFIA portal. If you have a customer PO number, you can put it in here as well. The project type will help describe what this project is, in this case RDI. If there's any exception items, these are the standard conditions that we assume on every job, but you can put in some exceptions here by selecting the appropriate box. The next field is the job scope, or the description field. This is the most important field here on this quote description. This is automatically emailed to the providers and is the first thing they'll see about the job you are submitting. It is useful to be very specific in this job description about what terms or what conditions you might have for this job, what is to be done, quantities and manufacturers that are going to be used, and any other relevant information that will help the provider give an accurate bid. The more detailed and clarified this job description is, the quicker and the more accurate your bids will be back from a provider. In this case, since it's just a sample job for this demo, I'm going to put in bare bones information. Again, the more description and the more specificity you have in the job scope, the better your bids will be back. The next section is the job timelines. These can all be changed, of course, but this is your estimated start date and any other dates that might be relevant. I'm going to say the start date is going to be next week. I think the product is going to ship on the 27th, and I would like it to be completed on the 1st. If your dates are flexible, then you can select that option here from the drop-down. When this is the case, the providers can submit alternate dates if they have a full schedule. The job location is where this job will actually be taking place. If there's multiple locations, or if there is a pickup from one delivered to a second destination, it's best to put those specific details inside the job scope. Once you've entered in a job location once, it will be available to be selected a second time on subsequent quote requests. The last section is the POC information if you know at this point, the end user name that the provider can contact for scheduling purposes. Secondly, you can select who is the job coordinator or the job POC, and this is the individual from your company that will receive updates and notifications throughout this job progress. And then finally, select the spot where the invoice should go to once the job has been completed. You can upload any number of quote documents here. If you have BOMs or drawings or acknowledgments or packing list, anything that might be helpful for the provider to provide a bid and to reduce confusion, please upload those documents here. Again, there's no size limitations or number of document limitations, so feel free to put anything here that is useful, and it is saved throughout the entire job history. So later on, you can go back and view your archived jobs, and all those quote documents will still be available for your use. Next, I'll click on the Continue button. Now the OFIA portal will use the job location and research through our provider listings to find the next closest providers. This is optional, of course, but you can choose to select additional providers if you want additional bids. In this case, I'm going to leave just this one provider in here, but you can add up to 4 different providers for different bids. Click on the Continue button. And now this will be a confirmation screen to make sure that you've put in all the information needed for an accurate and timely bid. And when you've done so, click on Submit to Providers. Alright, now we're taken to our quote dashboard. It's the same spot if you were to click on this quotes link at the top. We'll see this is the job we just put in. The status is submitted to providers for review. If you have additional jobs over time, you can use this filter by section at the top to filter different jobs or quotes so that you can get access to the ones that you're interested in at that time. You'll see this all active drop down can be switched, and it can be used to filter through all the different job types and quote statuses to find just the relevant ones you'd like to work on. Here at the bottom here, you can click on the View Info button to go back to the Job Details page. There you can edit the job scope or provide additional documentation if needed. You can delete this quote request if it's no longer valid. And then secondly, you can go to the View Responses page to view the responses that any provider may have given. Before we do that though, I'm going to go back up to our dashboard, and we can see that now this is in our Open Quotes page. I have the same sort of icons here where I can go and edit the quote request, or I can delete it if it's no longer needed. I have no bids yet, so we'll see that this status icon is not next to this job title. When a provider responds to your quote request and submits a bid, you'll automatically receive a notification telling you those details. In this case, we've simulated that, so I'm going to refresh my page. And if we go back, we now see that there are bids available. So let's go into this job and see what those responses are. Now, if there are multiple providers that you sent this to, you'd see a line here for each provider. In this case, we only sent it to one. You can see the details and the statistics about this provider here in the first column. You can see when it was sent to them, when they responded, and what their response was. Different providers have different requirements when they submit their bids. It's important that you review these requirements and make sure they are acceptable for your project. Some providers require an upfront deposit. Other providers require you to complete a new customer packet or something similar for your first engagement. It's important to remember that your relationship is directly with the provider. The OFIA portal is the facilitator, but you'll be working directly with the provider. When the job has been completed, the provider will invoice you directly for the services rendered, and you will pay the provider directly as well. The OFIA portal takes an upfront 5% transaction fee on each job, and you can see what that is by hovering over the bid column. Here we'll see that the bid from the provider was $150. The OFIA transaction fee was $7, and that led to the total cost is $157. The provider is responsible for paying that OFIA transaction fee, and they will do so after the job has been completed. Now, to select a request, click on the Select button. This will give you the details about the provider and what the bid request was. In order to select a provider's bid, you need to upload a purchase order made out to that provider. You can use your own purchase order generated from your own system, or we offer a canned one by clicking on this Generate a Purchase Order link. Either way, by uploading your own purchase order or the canned one from the OFIA system, that will turn this quote into a job. It's important to note that after you upload the purchase order and the quote turns into a job, any cancellations after the fact are subject to a cancellation fee. Now this is turned into an active job. Both you and the provider now have access to all the details in this page, including the basic quote information, job timelines, and additional job information. This detail was automatically preloaded with what you put in, but of course it can be changed and updated as the job continues. Here in the middle section are a couple of interesting ways to keep track of your project. As we talked about before, you can upload additional documents and attachments throughout the life cycle of this project simply by clicking on the Add New Document link. In addition, we offer a couple of different reports you can use for your own reference. We have a Generate Order Snapshot, which is basic information about this project. If the financial information changes and you need to upload a modified purchase order, we give you the option of doing so on this link. And then the last option is to generate a full archive summary, and that includes all of the details about this project, including all the notes and comments and questions and answers and bid responses. These next two sections, the notes and comments and questions and answer fields, those are useful for keeping track of correspondence between you and the provider in one central location. Now, as their title suggests, the first section is just free-flowing notes and comments, but the second section will allow you to ask a more formalized question and give a structure to the answer back. In both of those cases, when someone puts in an entry, both parties will be notified. You can have further visibility restrictions if you choose to do so. By default, if you put in a comment, everyone will see it, but you can restrict it so it's an internal comment that only you see, or send it to a specific provider if this is still in the quote phase. You'll get an email notification when a new note or comment is put in, or new question and answer. You can go in and respond directly on the OFI portal, or if it's easier, just respond to the email notification that was sent to you. When you do so, that email notification will go back into the OFI portal and it will put your note and comment back in the section where it belongs. Now the last couple of sections here includes the financial information, the provider information, and your information. So over time, if the job scope increases or decreases, you can change the financial information by clicking on the pencil here. It's important to know that if the job scope increases, then the transaction amount, the OFIA transaction amount, remains the same. However, if the amount decreases, then the OFIA transaction fee will also decrease by like amount. So you can see what I mean here. If I go up to $200, the OFIA transaction fee will continue to be $7, and the new total now will be $207. Now this is the provider POC information. Typically, the provider's information, including who is working on this, will be in this top field, and this is the ship to information here. If you would like to change your point of contact information or where the invoice should be sent to, you have pencils to do that in both cases. Now at the bottom here, we have options to update the information above. You can also track more dates. By clicking on this, you'll see a pop-up here, and you can include additional dates to track if that is useful for you, including perhaps start installation and finish installation. And when I do that, those new dates now appear at the top in the job timeline section. Anytime throughout this process, you can also create a follow-up or a punch job, and that will create a new quote request, but it'll synchronize it right to this provider and include the details about this job scope in it as well. Now as you move through the process, You can use as much or as little of the OFI portal as you'd like to track this job. If you prefer to just contact the provider via phone or email and work through the job that way, feel free to do so. The only thing we would require on the OFI portal is to close out the job when it's completed. To do that, you need to complete this completed date field. Just click in it, select the date it was completed, and you'll see a green button here to close the job. These are the only two fields that we require on the OFI portal. Now that I closed the job, I'll have a chance to review this provider if I choose to do so. It's optional, but it does help us in training the providers, and or if a job was very successful, to help highlight successful jobs on our website. In this case, I'm going to decline to review. And I'll go back to my quote dashboard, and we'll see now it is empty because I have no open active jobs or quotes, but I can go back and see any archived ones by just selecting that from the drop down. Here's my archive project. A couple of extra steps that we can also cover in this quick demo is the administrative screen. This is where you can manage the users that have access to your environment. And then finally, the account page, which is where you can update your personal user account information. Well, that's a very quick overview of the OFI portal. The portal itself is always evolving and changing over time. So if you have any questions or comments or would like to request a change or a modification on how the system works, we'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to get in contact with us at support@ofia.org or our phone number at 844-851-3234. Thanks for watching.